How's everyone going? You're back with your boy Jono for another quick math lesson. Today we're going to have a look at another measure of centre, and in this one we are looking at the median. Now we have looked at average before, and that's another measure of centre, but the median can tell us some really important information, kind of ignoring some of the outliers that we could get in a data set. The best thing about median is that it actually sounds like the word medium, which is what it really means. The word median in a data set literally just means, hey, what's the middle value? So if you can count, you're going to be pretty good at this topic. So for this example here, I've got 7 values, 7 pieces of data. They could be goals scored in a soccer match. We could have test scores, doesn't matter. We've got 7 important pieces of data. And if I asked you to tell me, hey, what's the middle value? You can see that it's incredibly easy, especially when the numbers are already ordered in ascending order, which is something that you absolutely must make sure of before you start these questions. So the easiest way to do this is kind of just by brute force. What I like to do is I cross off the bottom number and cross off the top number and just continue to do that until I'm left with just one number in the middle. So let's get to it. For this one, I cross off the 4 and the 9, then the 4 and the 8, then the 5 and the 7. What's left over? It's that 5 in the middle. That must be the middle value. Obviously, it doesn't matter which one of those 5s is the median. The 5 is the median across the board. And that's all you've got to be able to do. So if you can just go slow, cross them off each time, you're going to get these right every single time. Now there is actually a formula for this. So if you don't have all the pieces of data nicely kind of lined up like that, or you don't have the time to go across and cross them all out, you can use this formula. All it's saying is that you count up the total number of scores and then add 1 to that. That adding 1 is actually really important. And then you divide by 2. That's going to give you the middle score. Then you just have to count along and boom, that's the answer. So if we go back to the question that we just did, I've got 7 scores plus 1, which is equal to 8, divided by 2, and that's equal to 4. And what that's telling me is that the 4th term along this data set is the median. 1, 2, 3, 4. Absolutely crazy. It's that same 5 again. So you can do this either way. You can use that formula, which is super helpful in kind of bigger data sets where you've got more information to look through. But the crossing out also works for you. So just another example with slightly more numbers. So for this one, I've got 9 scores in total. So if I go 9 plus 1 divided by 2, that's equal to 5. This is saying that the 5th score along the data set is the median. So if I just cross these off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I get the answer 18. And that is the median for this data set. Now the median is really, really easy to find in those examples where I've got an odd number of data. Because then when I do the odd number plus 1 divided by 2, it's always going to give me a whole number. But what happens if I've got an even amount of data points? So in this here, I've got 4, 5, 6, and 7. And let's just go back to that first method we looked at, crossing out the top and the bottom. So if I crossed out the 4 and 7, then I crossed out the 5 and 6, there wouldn't be a number left for me to go, yeah, that's definitely the median. So you could pretty intuitively say like, oh, I think the median is in between the 5 and the 6. And that's actually the answer. The number that is between the 2 middle numbers is the median. So for this one, between 5 and between 6 is 5.5, and that would be your answer. So the way to think about it is that you are just trying to find the average or the mean between the 2 middle numbers. So all we've got to do to find out the answer is go the middle number 5 plus the other middle number 6, 5 plus 6, divided by 2 is 5.5, which is the answer that we got in that last example. Using this average kind of technique is really important when the 2 middle numbers are a little bit further apart. For that one, it's really easy. What's in between 5 and 6? 5.5. But if you've got 2 numbers that are way further away from each other, it might be harder to immediately see what number splits this exactly. So all you have to do every single time is find the average between the 2 most middle numbers, and that will give you the median for that data set. So in this example here, we've only got 6 data points. So to find out what the median is, we have to do that 6 plus 1 divided by 2. This is going to give us the answer of 3.5. So that's saying it's the 3.5th score across. That is the median of the data set. So if I cross out these first three, I'm left in between the 49 and the 60. So I've got to find a number that exactly splits 49 and 60 in half, or the average between these two numbers. In order to do that, all I have to do is 49 plus 60 divided by 2. And this is equal to 54.5. Again, this kind of makes sense. If you added 5 to 49, that'd be 54. And if you took 5 from 60, that'd be 55. So we're nowhere in the right ballpark. So 54 and a half exactly splits these two numbers. So that's the median of the data set. And that's all we've got to do. So I know it can be a little bit hard because we've got two different kind of fractions going on at the same time, but you can just use the crossout method if you want. But the first thing that we're doing, that first fraction, is telling us how many to cross off. And the second fraction is just splitting the two middle numbers. As long as you got that in your mind, you're going to be fine. So the biggest pro tip for this is you have to put the numbers in ascending order before you start. If you're just given a whole bunch of data that isn't in order and you start just crossing stuff off, you're not going to get it right. So take the time to ascend them first and then get started with your crossing off or by using the formula. I think it's pretty rude when teachers do this. You probably know what numbers go up in order, but please just check this before you start the question, because you might have the right technique, but if the numbers are out of whack, there's no way you're going to get a mark. So why do we even use the median? What's the point, right? So the best thing about the median compared to the average or the mean is that the median kind of accounts for any crazy values or any outliers that are in your data set. So in these two examples, we've got two pretty similar data sets, except in that bottom one, someone got a 3 out of 100. Maybe something went wrong, maybe their pen broke straight away and they didn't fix any of the answers. Something could have happened. The median for both of these data sets is not going to change. It's still the middle value, which is that 98. But if you're going to take the mean of these two, that 3 would absolutely drag that second value down. Even though these data sets do look really, really similar, they would come out with a completely different measure of center. So the 3 might just be a complete outlier, a complete joke really, but the median accounts for it in a way that the mean can't. So this is used all the time when we're talking about financial mathematics. If you're looking at the salary of a job, it's probably better to look at the median and not the mean, because it takes away all those high earners at the top. You're not going to be the CEO of the restaurant you work at, so why would you look at their salary when you're trying to work out, hey, is this somewhere I should work? It also helps with prices of houses or cars because it gets rid of the top and the bottom end. So it gives you a more realistic understanding of what the majority of people are kind of buying. And I'm sure you can agree, anything to do with financial maths is helpful in the real world. So being on top of these kind of nuances between mean and median when we're talking about measures of center is something that's really important for your real life. But anything with a pro obviously has a con, otherwise we would just use the median. So one thing that is important is that it might miss really important kind of information because you are just crossing it off. In this example here, say I'm a cricket player, one of them's got a duck, and then 1, and the other person's got 0, 0, 256. If you just took the median as, hey, what is their kind of ability as a batter, you would take both of them at 0. But that's obviously not true. The guy that made 256 is probably a little bit better than the guy that made 1. So just kind of knowing that there is a time and a place for these measures of center is really important, and being able to use the correct one in the right situation will help you out, not only in tests, but hopefully later down the track at some point. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you later.